Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a little while since we started talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows, Ubisoft's latest woke project that they're trying to push out there to make the masses happy. And by masses, we're talking about 1 or 2% of their entire audience, because that's what they focus on. Let's be real. They're focusing on the modern audience, ladies and gentlemen. Well, apparently we have an article here from That Park Place with a headline that reads, Japanese players torch Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Shadows after associate narrative director confirms that the game is indeed fiction.
Oh, hello, please. Bing bong ching chong.
Bing bing, hello, please.
Now, you guys are probably thinking to yourself, well, duh, of course the game is fiction, right? It's Assassin's Creed. It's not exactly supposed to be the truth. You know what I'm saying? But the funny thing is that this is the one and only Assassin's Creed game that has been marketed with any sort of, I guess, real life tie, right? They're trying to talk about historical accuracy when they're talking about this particular game, because they knew that the only way they were going to be able to get away with a DEI hire to represent all of Japan is if they went with a historical figure, no matter how ambiguous that figure may be. No matter how little of a history that figure may be, all they had to know was two things. Number one, he is real. Number two, he is black. That is all that matters. Everything else, they can fake it until they make it. But as long as those two things were based in historical accuracy, then they can use those two things as shields to deflect against any and all criticism that they knew was going to come their way by suddenly changing their entire history of how they make characters in Assassin's Creed. So let's get into this article, guys, from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. Now, again, what do I mean by what I just said? Well, quite frankly, they want to make sure that they were able to successfully insert a black male character into an Assassin's Creed game that was based in feudal Japan. Up until this point, almost every single Assassin's Creed has featured a fake character that is not historically accurate, but at least his ethnicity and his race was based in the location of which the game took place. It all made sense, and it all made it seem as if the character belonged where he was being interjected in. Whereas now you have Yasuke, who clearly doesn't belong, but they're going to say he belongs because he is a real historical person who was in Japan for about 15 months, and he was a retainer of Nobunaga, so that's all that matters. Black skin, real historical character, boom, we can make whatever the hell we want now, and nobody can tell us we're not being historically accurate when they eventually get mad over the fact that we decided for the first time ever to not showcase a true ethnicity or race of the person playing in the game as one of the main characters. Obviously, you have Naoe, but nobody wants to fucking play as Naoe. Everybody wants to play as the samurai. That's the whole reason why a lot of people were waiting for an Assassin's Creed in Japan. But hey, I digress. They want to pretend as if Japanese people are not angry, but there's thousands of Japanese comments all over social media being translated showing that they're not exactly very happy with what's going on. And of course, their voices are being suppressed because at the end of the day, on the social ladder of oppression, Japanese people are at the absolute lowest and black people are at the absolute top. It says Japanese players torched Ubisoft after the game's associate narrative director, Brooke Davies, confirmed that the game is fiction. We already knew that. I don't want to rehash that shit because, again, we already know that this game is fiction. That's not an excuse for what you are obviously trying to do. You were so desperate to make this a thing. And you know what's also funny, too? A lot of these DEI consultancy companies, they love to push interracial relationships. So any chance they get to showcase a black male with a non-black female, they will absolutely do it, or vice versa. If they can show a black female with a non-black male, they will do it. Interracial relationships are a big thing for them because ultimately this is coming from white feminists who are hardcore leftists that have, I guess you could just say like hardcore fantasies about black men. So they'll do anything they can to showcase that on screen because they think about it all the time. It says Japanese players expressed their displeasure to Davies. More recent comments in the comment section of the video that Davies just recently posted. One wrote that we fabricated a blank space in history. The old lady in the thumbnail used the word historical a lot in the interview with IGN last month and claimed that it was based on historical facts, so it's unreasonable to call it fantasy now, wrote another. Now, this is a great comment because, yes, they have been utilizing the word historical accuracy or historically accurate to advertise this game in order to fight against the hate that they are getting for this game. That's what they've been using. Now you do not get the option, after claiming historical accuracy, you do not get the option to say, oh, well, it's fiction, so, you know, we could do whatever we want. You don't get that option. You used historical accuracy as a means to advertise and fight against and argue with people, and now that suddenly it's too much for you to bear, now you're saying, well, it's fictional, so it doesn't matter. Clearly, it matters. It matters a lot. It matters so much that you had to do it. It matters so much that you had to change an obvious progression of what you had for Assassin's Creed characters, and you decided to make it into something that it never was. Still, another posted, isn't it discrimination that Japanese people are not included in Wii? It is. A fourth wrote, Ubi, it's a company that is sensitive to discrimination against black people, but is insensitive to discrimination against Japanese people, because discrimination against Japanese people is a daily occurrence. Again, ladies and gentlemen, these are the kind of people that try to make hashtag Stop Asian Hate a thing. They try to marginalize Asian people, and Asian people were not having that shit. And since they didn't eat it up, they essentially ended up dropping the hashtag Stop Asian Hate, especially after they realized that a lot of the people who were doing the hate crimes against Asian people were black people. And they were like, shit, what do? We gotta protect our oppression overlords, so we gotta make sure that black people are always seen in a positive light. So let's just drop this hashtag, because Asians are not eating it up, number one, and they're getting beat up by the ones who we essentially, virtue signal to 24/7. That's more important than anything else. One person wrote, when I saw the thumbnail, I thought this is another anti-political video, but I was wrong. It is violation of human rights to promote a real person's unknown vacancy, period, by labeling him or her as gay or some other special sexuality. Another question, revised statement in a certain media interview, when the words "our samurai" appeared, they are trying to create their own samurai and insert themselves into Japanese history. What do you think of Japan? I don't want Ubisoft to have anything to do with my country ever again, wrote another one. Another posted, historical current events equals a black man named Yasuke existed, and that is all. Others reacted to the other comments from Davies, where she shared that Yasuke will train under Nobunaga and that she hoped that people who are interested in history will check out their game. Why? Why? You just admitted that the game is entirely fiction. Why would someone who's interested in history want to check out your game? You are not even remotely historically accurate when it comes to this particular game, and nobody would have cared if you didn't try to make it a point of conversation, right? Nobody goes to Assassin's Creed games and screams, oh, this is not historically accurate. They might try to point out little tidbits here and there that probably could have been better, but ultimately the story is just grander than any other story that's told in history. So at least, from an overarching standpoint, they're trying to make it all tied together. So yeah, historical accuracy is not exactly on the forefront of most people's minds until you made it that. That's the thing. Like, you made it about historical accuracy. That was your excuse when you were pushing Yasuke. So now that you are getting completely destroyed by the people you tried to use this excuse for, now all of a sudden you want to stop it, you want to drop it, and you want to pretend like, oh, it's fiction, it doesn't matter. No, you don't get that option. You don't get to back off like that. Davey stated, this is a unification period of Japan, the start of it, and we have Oda Nobunaga, who's the first, as you know, of the three great unifiers, so I don't want to give away too much of who players are going to encounter in the game, but I will say there is some very interesting historical figures that you will encounter in the game to really bring to life all of the many elements at play this time, which made it so fun to work with. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I don't buy it. I don't buy any of this shit, man. They're going to make Yasuke into some Super Saiyan fucking black samurai. This guy is going to be going around destroying Japanese people left and right, and this is what they want. They want to showcase this. If this was the other way around, if it was a Japanese samurai in Africa murdering nothing but black people, I guarantee you the game would not have even been made in the first place, nor would it have even been allowed to even be thought of, because that is just not something that they can allow themselves to do, considering that their DEI overlords worship black people, unfortunately. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know your thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.